I bought a monthly watch subscription service called Watch Crew to test if these services are worth the money or if it's all just a scam. As someone who's been a watch enthusiast for several years, I have already established a bit of a collection and a hobby around obtaining watches. When I saw an ad on Snapchat for a watch subscription service that seemed to have the top-end luxury brands, I knew something was off. In this video, we're going to break down what's included in the Watch Crew subscription, if this is something that you should spend your money on, or why you might want to avoid companies like this. Let's find out if this watch subscription service is the right fit for you with a little review. I want to start off this video by saying that I am by no means a watch expert. There are plenty of other YouTube channels where you can go into a deep dive on all things watches. For educational purposes, I love watching Teddy Balthazar, Watchfinder & Co, and Jenny L. These channels and many more are fantastic resources you should check out if you're looking to educate yourself on all things watches. I wanted to mention this with you guys because I don't plan on going into the complexities and the details about what makes a good watch. It really comes down to personal preference, and what you find appealing may not be what others find appealing. So you shouldn't let anybody tell you what a good watch is if it's something that you truly enjoy. Now, with that being said, let's jump into the Watch Crew subscription. Now I understand, some of you may be like, what the hell is Watch Crew? Don't you mean Watch Gang? Actually, no. Watch Crew is basically a cheap ripoff of the more well-known brand Watch Gang. For those of you that don't know, Watch Gang is a popular subscription service that provides actual Swiss/Japanese quartz or automatic watches. Some of these watches they provide are from more well-known watch brands like Seiko. Watch Crew basically rips off that idea but tries to sell you cheap Chinese knockoff brands that are copycats to major luxury brands. Let's take a dive into their website and see what Watch Crew is actually about. Watch Crew works just like how it sounds. You pay a monthly price and you get sent a randomized watch that you get to keep every month. They claim that since you are amongst the first few people that joined, you get an exclusive discount rate for the monthly subscription. Now let's take a look at some of those watches in the subscription. Again, all of these watches are cheap Chinese knockoffs, but we'll see who they're trying to copy from. This one looks like the infamous Royal Oak AP watch. The real version of that watch goes for almost $40K. I can also see that there are two Rolex copycat watches. The real black Rolex Submariner costs roughly $10K, and the green Hulk Rolex Submariner costs roughly $20K. Let's say that rather than subscribing, you wanted to buy a watch from Watch Crew themselves. They're going to charge you nearly double the price of the subscription for that one watch. Then they create a fake sale to make you feel like you're getting a deal just like all the other scammy companies do. If you tried to look up these watches online, you could see that some of them may be worth $30 or on sale for cheaper if you shop around. I mean, look at this watch. They are selling this Rolex Day-Date lookalike for $200, but when I search up the exact same one, I could see it's on sale for about $60. It's just crazy the kind of stuff a scammy company tries to get away with. Now, I can't speak for any other watch subscription company here, but you are getting ripped off if you buy anything from Watch Crew when you can buy them yourself for 1/3 of the price on a cheap Chinese site. Well, now that we've gone through the website and what Watch Crew is all about, let's take a look at the watches that I got from my monthly service. Okay, so I subscribed for 2 months and I was able to get 2 watches, one for each month. For the first month, I got this AP Royal Oak copycat from the Chinese brand Chenxi. I mean, look at this side-by-side comparison, guys. The hands are slightly different and the chronographs are numbered differently. But other than that, this watch is pretty much a copy and paste of the AP. Holding the watch in my hand, I could immediately tell how cheap it was. As for the materials it's made of, I had to search elsewhere online. I found the specs on AliExpress for the same watch, and as I suspected, it's as cheap as it can get. The bracelet and the case material are made of alloy. The glass type is made of coated glass. The watch has a case size of 42mm, and it has a quartz movement. As for the bracelet, it has a butterfly clasp functionality. Now, moving on to the second month's watch. I got a Patek Philippe Nautilus lookalike. Let's look at the side-by-side comparison of this watch. Other than the hands of the watch and a bit of the crown, this watch is a copy and paste of the Patek Philippe. Holding the watch in my hand doesn't feel as cheap and as fake as the AP did, which is a nice change of pace. I would imagine that's because it's a smaller and more compact watch than the fake AP. Comparing both watches, you can also see that this watch has a simple clean coat on the case while the fake AP has a terrible looking brush texture. The simple clean coat looks much better in my opinion. As for the materials it's made of, I had to, once again, search elsewhere online. It does look like the case material is made of alloy, but the bracelet may have some stainless steel mixed in. It's hard to tell. In addition to that, the bracelet has butterfly clasp functionality, the watch's glass is made of coated glass, the case size is 40 millimeters, and the watch has a quartz movement. And something to note here is that just because a watch has a quartz movement doesn't mean that the watch is cheap. A quartz movement can be a very solid movement and extremely accurate. Unfortunately, that is not the case with these watches. Looking at the face, the second hand isn't even precise. Look at how it skips over the hour and minute markers. I would say this is just about as bad and cheap as it can get if you can't even be precise with a quartz movement. So now that we know what we have with the watches, what's my personal experience been like with them? Well, first, I actually want to talk about the scammiest tactic I have ever seen. Before I signed up for this subscription service, I looked at the cancellation policy. It said that I would be free to cancel the membership at any time and for any reason. But after I subscribed, I read the cancellation policy again and it changed. Now it said that I would only be able to cancel after a minimum of 2 billing cycles, which means I was forced to stay subscribed for at least 2 months. Locking you into a 2-month subscription after lying to your face about being able to cancel at any time is the scammiest thing I have ever seen in any company. I've just never seen that before. Looking at the fake AP on my wrist, it's a little big. Sadly, I've been cursed with small wrists because my wrist size is roughly 6.25 inches. The fake AP watch is 42 millimeters, which makes it large for my wrist size, and that's not even considering the lug-to-lug length, which makes the watch even bigger. The fake Patek Philippe looks much better on my wrist since the case is only 40 millimeters, and there isn't much additional length added since the lugs don't extend out as far. I do wish that if Watch Crew could get anything right, that they would have at least taken into account people's wrist size, since they do vary from person to person. As for the style of the watches, it really comes down to the individual and what they like. What I like may not be what other people like, and it's all just really preference. Of course, both these fake watches are copycats of very high-end luxury watches, so they're going to look nice overall. I don't really care about the style of this fake AP because it's too squared off and blocky for my personal taste. I prefer the fake Patek Philippe as it's more rounded and looks smoother, which leans more towards my taste. The only thing that I could say is decent about these watches is that they look nice with nearly any outfit, but that's because the alloy color looks like stainless steel. Between the two watches, I only ever wear the fake Patek Philippe. It's just a simple and clean design that can go well with any outfit, and it helps that it wears well to my wrist size. Personally, when I think of quality watch brands, my mind immediately goes to Swiss and Japanese made watches. And a watch doesn't have to be top dollar to be respectable. Now, something I like to do with you guys is to show you alternative options. Since these watches are pretty cheap, there's not many alternative options that I could find. And just for the record, if you did want to buy these type of Chinese watches, then there is nothing wrong with that. I would just highly recommend to make sure that you search for the same brand that Watch Crew provides and find them as cheap as possible elsewhere. Now, if you're asking me personally, I would not recommend buying a cheap Chinese watch. In my personal opinion, you are much better off buying something cheap from a more reputable company. The first company that I think of when I think of cheap but very reputable watches is Casio. There are several stylish and affordable timepieces from their collection with either a digital or analog watch face. If you want something that's the same $30 price that Watch Crew is charging, then you could find something like the Casio MQ24D-7E or the Casio A15-8WA-1. If you had a more flexible budget of $100, then I would recommend you take a look at something within the Casio Vintage Collection. Something like the MTP1302D-2AVT. Or, you also can't go wrong with the notorious G-Shock, and there are a lot of fantastic options and colors you can choose from in that collection. And another solid and cheap reputable watch brand that I would recommend is Timex. Their prices start as low as $50, and there are plenty of quality options to choose from depending on the style that you're looking for. And one final note that I want to leave you guys off on is that you can almost always find nice watches on sale online. One of my favorite and reputable online sites is Joma Shop. Joma Shop basically sells 100% authentic watches that could be heavily discounted, which will save you money in the end. As we can see here, I filtered my search limit to watches that are $100 or less from Casio and Timex. By shopping through reputable discounted websites like this, you get a lot more bang for your buck. At this low price point, this can be a very viable option for you. But once you get into the $1,000 range, then I would recommend you do your respective due diligence. So, after everything we've seen with Watch Crew, what are my final thoughts on the service? If you ask me, I believe that Watch Crew is an absolute scam that tries to take advantage of newcomers getting into the watch industry. I mean, they straight up lied about your cancellation policy after they got your money. I'm not even sure if that's even legal. This company should be avoided at all costs. Now, I do understand that everyone is entitled to their own opinion and style when it comes to watches, and that's perfectly fine. What I'm saying is that if you really wanted to wear a Chinese watch brand, then by all means wear one. But get the best possible price for it rather than paying 300% more than it's worth through something like Watch Crew. When getting monthly watches from a subscription service, you take away all of the fun and thrill that makes obtaining a watch special. But personally, I would never subscribe to another watch subscription service. So what are your guys' thoughts on Watch Crew or other watch subscription services? Is a monthly watch subscription service something that you guys would do? Was Watch Crew's bait and switch with their cancellation policy even legal? Does anybody know? What kind of advice would you guys give to someone who's new to watches? Let me know in the comments below. As always, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.